G'day folks, it's Laura here, and today I'm going to do a flip cup pour, and this time it's going to be predominantly in the blue range and predominantly with Pebeo paints. I have a plan to actually trial a new pouring medium, the Liquitex gloss pouring medium, and this is just straight out of the Liquitex bottle, except that I've added pantyhose here just to prevent any flakes or lumps getting through. So I'm trialing this new proprietary pouring medium just to see what it's like as compared to my standard pouring medium. So my colors today include dark cobalt violet blue, dark ultramarine blue, opaque cobalt blue hue, cerulean blue, iridescent blue-green, iridescent gold, all of these from Pebeo, as well as titanium white from Jo Sonja. Okay, so I'm up to adding the Liquitex gloss pouring medium. Now, in comparison to my other pouring mediums, my standard pouring medium, the trials that I've been doing recently, including the Acrylic pouring medium, this one is not only much more fluid, but it looks more translucent. So because these are Pebeo paints and they're very thick, I'm just going to start with a very small amount of pouring medium for each of these. Mix them up well before I add more pouring medium. So something I've already noticed is, which you probably can't actually see here, but this Liquitex gloss pouring medium can actually hold quite a lot of micro bubbles. So I'm not sure whether that's going to cause a problem down the track. I guess we'll find out. And I'm actually a little bit worried about this pouring medium Pebeo paint combination, because I'm a little worried that I might not be able to get all the lumps out of the Pebeo, because the pouring medium is so different in thickness. I'm also anticipating that I'm going to get a lot of bubbles while mixing this, just by the nature of the thickness of the Pebeo paint and the thinness, the low viscosity of that pouring medium. This is currently very gloppy. I'm not getting a clear stream at all, but I will be adding more pouring medium. Still very gloppy. So I think this pouring medium is even more fluid than my standard pouring medium, and I can tell that because this Jo Sonja is the thinner of the paints. And this combination is actually feeling very liquid. It doesn't have a trace at all. Okay, now just going to add more of this pouring medium to all of these Pebeo paints. Okay, that's definitely become a lot thinner. Okay, there's a very, very slight trace with this one, but it's barely there. So it's time to layer my cup now, and for this I'm going to use my standard cell activator. I'll link to a video on how to make this if you're interested. I'm going to start by using a generous layer of cell activator on the bottom and the sides of the cup. Now, one thing I've noticed about this paint is that particularly the iridescent paints, that is the iridescent blue-green, the iridescent gold, they've got a lot of bubbles coming up. And the bubbles just keep coming. And I'm not sure whether there's an effect of it having the mica flakes in there that's causing that. It doesn't really seem to be happening, at least not noticeably, with the other paints. So maybe this has to do with the Liquitex pouring medium interacting with the Pebeo iridescent paints, who knows. So anyway, I'll just get started. So these are much thinner than what I've just been trialing with the Atelier, which is quite interesting. Much closer to what I'd usually use with my standard pouring medium. So I've already prepared my canvas. This is the back of my canvas, and I've added painter's tape as well as giant push pins. So it's time to flip the cup now. And this is very fluid paint, and so I am expecting it to go all over the table here. Let's see how we go. I'll give it a bit of space. Whoa, there we go. Move it up to that corner just a tiny bit. Much thinner paint and pouring medium than the effect that I've just been looking at with the Atelier pouring medium. Wow, where did all the lacing go? Maybe it's underneath. I'm certainly not seeing much of it yet. Got some very interesting kind of layering effects there though. So I do have a little bit of paint left in the cup. I'll get that out now. Spread it around the edges and the corners so as not to waste it. So I got a little tiny bit of lacing up here. So this is not actually the first time when I've used a pouring medium that had the Atelier pouring medium in it that failed to have much in the way of lacing, even when using cell activator. That's very liquid paint. It's just going off the edge. And interestingly, this was just the Liquitex pouring medium and Pebeo paints, and Pebeo paints are the thick ones. I didn't add any water to dilute these. So I think on first impressions, the Atelier pouring medium creates far too thick paints, and the Liquitex creates far too thin. Okay, I am definitely losing paint over the edge here. I need to do something about that. Okie dokie, so I'm just going to gently spin this. I think I will get over the corners and edges fairly quickly. Oh, Before I spin it, I really do need to pop any bubbles if there are any, so I'll do that quickly. Okay, now I'll spin it. Just pull some paint off from underneath to help these edges and corners that are a little bit dry. Wow, so I have to say, I think this is very different to what I was expecting. There's a huge amount of detail in this piece in terms of what looks like cells and lacing, but it's not cohesive. So it just looks like it's everywhere basically. So I do have some interesting kind of patterns, some stripy kind of wafty, wispy patterns coming through here, but then I've got a whole lot of what look like cells created from bubbles coming up. I'm not sure whether they actually had bubbles in them or whether it's just the different densities of paint. And it actually looks like the paint is separating quite a bit here. So maybe it's the white or maybe the iridescent paints that seem to have gone a little bit granular, and just a huge number of like bubbles, what look like cells but aren't cohesive. So yeah, this is not at all what I was expecting. I mean, it's an interesting piece. I think it's got merit, but it's not traditionally what I'd expect or want out of my pouring medium mix, particularly when I incorporate cell activator in layers. So this is actually a really interesting experiment for me because the Liquitex pouring medium is very, very much more expensive than, for instance, the Atelier pouring medium, and very much more expensive again than my standard pouring medium that I use on the basis of a house paint. So it's actually a little bit comforting that the effect that I'm getting from the Liquitex pouring medium isn't really one that I like all that much. I mean, it's interesting. I've definitely got some interesting things happening here, but it's just too busy. Just far too busy. Anyway, I'm just going to cover these corners and then I'll pull paint off from underneath the edges. Wow, so this is actually the effect of the undiluted, very heavy-bodied, viscous Pebeo paints with the Liquitex pouring medium. And this piece is just becoming more and more busy. So I'm getting a whole lot of complication in the layers happening here. I'm not sure whether it's cells coming up, but they're kind of becoming quite distorted. And I don't know what that's caused by. It could be mixing of the different layers of paint, possibly because the pouring medium was a little bit thinner, but it might even be because the pouring medium is actually interacting with the paint itself. So anyway, very interesting effect, not one I love particularly, but it does mean that I probably won't be using this Liquitex pouring medium, certainly not using it straight because it is so very expensive, and probably not using it very much in the future at all, given these results. Anyway, thanks very much everyone for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Did you like this effect, or is it a little bit too busy for you, as it's a little bit too busy for me? Thanks everyone.